My name's Gloria McElroy. I work at Worcester State University. Does anybody know anything about Worcester State? Yeah. Has anyone been to Worcester? Yeah. So Worcester's about, I'd say, an hour or so away, so not super far. It's pretty close. We have more than 80 academic major, minor offerings and pairings to choose from. What majors are y'all thinking about? Yeah. Criminal justice. That's a super popular, great major choice. Business management. Do you know what you want to do with business management?
I don't know, maybe someday open up a business.
Yeah, that's a really popular option. One thing I'll also add is we have an entrepreneurial program that offers scholarships for incoming students too. So if you're thinking about business and opening, yeah, and you've got pins too. So paired with the business administration, business management major, we have entrepreneurial programs too. So those aren't majors, but another focus area that you can learn more on. And if you're interested in starting a business, they'll give you seed money. So that's always a bonus. You could do it sooner than maybe you even thought. What about some other majors? Have y'all thought of majors at all? Yeah? In between some or?
Biology.
Yeah?
Because I want to be an OB/GYN.
Yeah, pre-med. That's what I went to school for. I changed my mind, but that's good. Pre-med, that's a great track. Just to tell you a little bit about Worcester State and our offerings, like I said, we have 80 major, minor pairings. And we're a liberal arts university, which means that we have a really broad range. So we have your humanities majors, English, history, or more general liberal studies. But we also have a lot of STEM majors, chemistry, bio. Our most competitive majors are nursing and occupational studies. We have a lot of people apply to those two programs because they're pretty competitive in the industry. And our larger majors are criminal justice, business, biology, psychology, and then undeclared for incoming students. So we have a lot of students that don't necessarily know when they come into the university exactly what they want to specialize in. Or maybe they're between 2 or 3 different ones and they want to just take some classes, get a little bit more information before they fully declare that major. One of the great things about our new academic framework at Worcester State, for the last couple of years, we just started a major plus. If you look at your the larger sheet, it's on the back of the majors. It's about pairing 2 different programs so that you can graduate in 4 years without adding any time and either double major or major and minor. This is has almost all of our students done already. But say if you're interested in criminal justice, you could combine criminal justice with information technology for maybe a focus area if you want to go into cybersecurity or something like that. Or if, let's say, you're hoping to join, become a detective, you could do criminal justice with psychology to get into the mind of a criminal. Question?
Yeah. What is it like for your pre-law major?
Pre-law? That's a great question. So with pre-law, you'd be taking classes in there's some law history as well as history and English more broadly, but we have an articulation agreement, which means that we have a deal with law schools that you can do a 3-3. So law schools are typically a 3-year program, and the traditional track is 4 years in your undergrad and then 3 years in law school. Well, if you did pre-law through Worcester State, you'd do 3 years at Worcester State and then 3 years at law school, basically cutting out a year of either undergrad or law school. And the way it happens is you do the 3 years at Worcester State, and then your first year at law school, you take the law school classes, and then after that first year is done, so you're in law school, you're not taking classes at Worcester State anymore, that first year at law school completes your undergraduate degree, so you get your bachelor's at that point, and you're already 1 year into law school with only 2 more years. So that's the type of classes would be your typical political science, history type classes, but just geared around going into law school. Yeah. Yes. So with our International Programs Office, we have a Study Away program, is the more general term for it, where you can do some study abroad. We have more than 50 study abroad locations around the country, around the world. But we also have a number of destinations here for study away. So if you want to study, say, some recent ones were Costa Rica, England, Italy. I have an alum who did a year in China. So it depends on a couple of different things, your major, and let's say you want to study art. Italy would be a really great place to study art because they've got so much history and Renaissance and all this other stuff. Whereas if you're interested in business, China might be a great option. So it depends on where you want to go, but it also depends on your major and what might fit best in your schedule. So yes, we have a study abroad program, as well as a study away program. So if you wanted to, say, take classes in California for a semester, you're studying away, you're just not, those are domestic sites versus international sites.
Is it like more money, or is it the same?
There's typically an added cost, yeah. I mean, tuition's going to stay the same, but sometimes living abroad will be a little bit more costly. To live on campus, we sort of, it's about $12,000 a year. And if you're studying abroad, you probably pay that, and then whatever, eating in another country can be more expensive. It might equal out. You'd have to see. There are some scholarships, though, for studying abroad. So if you're interested in that, you can work with the International Programs Office. But our president has actually made a point. He thinks everyone should try and study away in some way, shape, or form before graduation. It's not required. It's not a degree requirement, but it's highly encouraged. I asked everyone up here what their majors are. Do y'all have any majors that you're interested in?
I'm interested between criminal justice, political science, or pre-law.
Nice. That's a good pairing.
I'm not really sure.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is, I said our top 5 programs, one of those is Undeclared. And I think someone has done the math. I don't know about Worcester State specifically, but at least 20% of students come into college and change majors. So even if you know what you're going to do, you might take some classes and then specialize in some other ways. The benefit of our Major Plus program is that you can really focus in 2 different areas. So if you're interested, for instance, in pre-med, you could do biology, but maybe you're not sure what you want to do, and you want to do some early childhood education classes if you're thinking about going into pediatrics or something like that. Or if you're interested in criminal justice and pre-law, maybe you major in both and see if that'll help set you up for maybe that type of law. So you combine 2 different programs. And the benefit of combining the 2 different programs is you get a faculty advisor in 2 different areas, as well as an academic advisor who can help you plan it all out. To tell you a little bit more about Worcester more broadly, we're a college town. We're the 2nd largest city in New England, and there's 11 institutions just in Worcester with more than 38,000 college students. So that means that you're going to see college students from Worcester State, from Holy Cross, from WPI, from Clark, and it's a pretty close-knit community, and the community really supports college students. We have some alums who've done some really amazing things in Worcester, and I'm sure there are better examples of this, but my favorite thing about Worcester is the food. There's some really great food, and a lot of the food companies are run by, or my favorites are run by alums. So we have a student who did our pre-law program. He did 3 years at Worcester State, and he's in his 2nd year of law school right now. He opened Accra Eatery, which is an African cuisine restaurant in Worcester. He did that the 1st year of law school and combined it. Then we have Queen's Cups, which is boutique cupcakery, and then Glazy Susan, which is boutique donuts. I know I'm just talking about sweets primarily here, but those are alums who have supported the community, because Worcester State has a lot of culture, community, and our student body is pretty diverse. 50% of our student body are first-generation college students. 32% identify as students of color, and there's lots of culture in and around the city, with opportunities to get into Boston pretty easily too. We're about an hour west of Boston with the commuter train that runs straight into Boston. So that's an overview of some of our majors. If you're interested in living on campus, I would say This is about close enough to where you could commute if you really, really wanted to do it. But living on campus is totally doable as well. We have 4 residence halls. When you think of living on a college campus, what do you think of? What is the quintessential dorm? Yeah. Expensive, yeah. That's very true. It can be expensive, but one thing that is important to factor into your costs are you don't have to pay for utilities, you don't have to pay for some of the other things like cable and things like that. You don't have to worry about it in quite the same way. And financial aid can make it more affordable. Your financial aid changes whether you want to be a commuter or a resident. You might be offered higher grants to live on campus or more loans to live on campus that are federally backed. Yeah.
I feel like in the long run, it's a cheaper resort than living on your own. But at the same time, it's that it's all there and you have to pay it. So
Yeah.
I feel like it's easier to lay it all out than it is to pay it now when you get to college.
That's true. One benefit to living on campus, aside from, you pay for it and you don't have to worry about bills each month and things like that, but you do know that you're statistically more likely to do better in college if you get involved your freshman year, if you join a club or organization. Retention rates are much higher for students who have joined a club, play a sport, or do something else. And living on campus is a really easy way to start meeting other people, making those connections. We're pretty high. We're pretty high commuter population, so we've got a lot of support for commuters as well. So it's not required to live on campus. I just like to mention it because we have your dorms that are your quintessential dorms. Like you think of, you live with someone, there's a bathroom at the end of the hall, and there's just a whole bunch of freshmen living on the hall. We have one of those. We have a traditional residence hall that's I think of when I think of dorms. But we also have suite style. So if you don't necessarily want to live with someone, you might go for the suite style, where it's 4 individual rooms that share a bathroom. So 4 people that share a bathroom. We have apartment style and townhouse style. So that means that maybe you want to live in a traditional dorm your freshman year, but your sophomore or junior year, you want to sort of feel like you're more off campus with the security of being on campus. Do you have a question about residence life? No, you're...
What division are your sports?
NCAA Division III. So that means that you're not going to find any athletic scholarships, but we do actively recruit. But our focus is the student athlete, which means that if you want to go for one of those really high pressure majors, nursing, bio, if you're really focused and have a lot of goals, your athletic team will know that your academics comes first, so that there's no competing over your time. Academics come first, but athletes are another great way to get involved on campus. Do you play a sport? What sport do you play?
Track. I'm a shot putter.
Yeah, we have indoor and outdoor track. So, and a lot of our track athletes can be a double sport athlete as well. That's totally doable if there's any other sports that you play or are interested in.
How's your softball team?
Good. I haven't. I don't know what their record is right off the top of my head. Pretty involved on campus, though. All of our athletic teams play on campus, except for ice hockey that goes into an arena downtown. So everything's right there on campus, and you see the softball field. It's just on the other side of the football field. So it's pretty close.
How is the parking on campus, whether you live in one of the dorms on campus or you're a commuter?
Yeah, you had to ask, didn't you? Parking can get challenging. We're about 68 acres in Worcester, which means that we're relatively compact. As a commuter, if you have a 10 o'clock class, you want to get there early. There's a lot of commuter parking, but we also have a lot of commuting students. If you're living on campus and you're upperclassmen, and then you can probably have your car on campus right up there by the residence halls. We have upper campus where our residence halls are and lower campus where a lot of our academic buildings are. If you're a freshman, you probably wouldn't get the ability to have your car on campus. But we have a secondary lot for students for resident students, freshmen, that it's about an 8-minute bus ride to get your car. So if you need to use your car daily, it's probably not a super fun place to park. But if you only need it on the weekends or something like that, then it's really not an issue. You can still park pretty close. So good question. Parking at most institutions are going to be challenging, but we have a good number of spots. It's just if you're coming at the busiest time of the day, you might have to drive around a bit. I know because I do that when I when I have to park as well. Good question. Well, I have a question for y'all now. Cost. As you're looking at some institutions and looking at cost, what sort of amounts are you seeing?
34 grand.
34 grand, yeah. Anybody else seeing anything else? Higher, lower?
I'm just scared of being like that.
Yeah. You definitely don't want to be in debt. 34 grand, I would say that's probably on the average. 30 to 40 grand are a lot of costs that you see both in the area and across the country. That's not the cost of Worcester State. For tuition at Worcester State, it's $10,500 as a commuter student. To live on campus, you're talking another $12,000, but those numbers are all before you apply for financial aid or are awarded scholarships. So we have merit scholarships that can help bring those numbers down just as a commuter or as a resident student. And then you also have financial aid opportunities. 72% of our students have some sort of financial aid, whether that's merit scholarship, grants, or loans. So the way that you apply for financial aid, as far as merit scholarships are concerned, with your application, everyone is considered for both the honors program and for merit scholarships. Just by submitting an application, we're going to review you and consider you for that. Then for financial aid, like grants and loans, that's based on what you qualify for as a family, as an individual or as a family. So you would apply for that. The FAFSA, free application for federal student aid, opens in October. So you'd work with a parent or guardian to apply for that, and then you'd see what you qualify for. That typically takes a couple weeks after you've been admitted, and then you can see what you qualify for and work with your financial aid counselor. You'd have a counselor assigned to you based on your last name to see how you can really bring that cost down. Like I said, 72% of our students use financial aid. And we're 35% cheaper than most of the more affordable, I think that's a better way to say it, we're 35% more affordable than other colleges in the region. So our number one focus is to give you a quality education at a more affordable cost, which is why a lot of students will commute from longer distances. I would say an hour is right around where you'd want to factor in the cost of living on campus and see what makes the most sense, your time or commuting in. But we can make it as affordable as possible.
Damn, I feel like an hour is just too far to do it every weekday.
And I would have to do, I think it's somewhere between 45 minutes and just over an hour. But yeah, I agree. And I will say that if you live on campus, you qualify for different financial aid as well. So it's something to consider. And you are guaranteed housing for all 4 years. You're not required to live on campus, so you could look at housing in or around Worcester, although I would highly encourage if you can make it work living on campus, just because it's a great way to get involved. You walk down the hill to go to your classes, so there's a lot of opportunities for that. And we're guaranteed housing all 4 years.
Is there any close off-campus housing, and do you guys kind of help students with that, in the sense like guiding them and stuff?
Yeah, so I know that there are off-campus housing for students. There are apartment buildings in the area. We have a student center where people will post rentals. We just had admissions office always gets those random questions for someone who just stops in the office and, hey, where should I go for this? We had a student who had just started. His parent had bought a house in the area and was renting out a couple of rooms so that his son could live pretty close. So there are options. As far as assisting you with finding off-campus housing, other than postings, and we have accepted student Facebook pages, orientation, other than connecting with other students, those are probably the best ways to find that off-campus housing. One thing to know about Worcester is because we're such a big college town, we are in a suburban part of the city. So really close to downtown. It's probably less than a 5-minute bus or drive, and I wouldn't necessarily walk it. It would be a little farther than me to walk, but maybe you'd want to walk it. I don't know. But because we're in a commuter, like a suburban area, off-campus housing would sort of be maybe a couple apartment buildings or little houses that rent out. It's a good question. Any other questions?
I plan on becoming an OBGYN.
Awesome.
And usually for college, I look for a major. For colleges, I've been looking at majors in biology and minors in pre-med, but I don't see you guys having a minor in pre-med option.
It's not a minor, it's a focus area, concentration area. So you do biology, and then you'd work specifically with our faculty, our pre-med faculty. I think that there is sort of a acceptance path for you to sort of qualify for that pre-med, to work with that faculty. The main thing is they'll want to make sure that you're taking the right classes to be successful for the MCAT. Because you don't have to, there's not necessarily pre-med majors, it's more that you're taking the classes that med schools will want to see on your transcript. So there is pre-med faculty. It works the same as our pre-vet, pre-dental, and pre-med, to where you're taking, they want to make sure you're taking anatomy, that you're taking all of those classes that you really need to take. So yes, we have a track. It's not a major. It's not really even considered a minor. It's more of a track, a pre-med track. Typically, we see students in biochemistry, those STEM majors that go to that track. It's not a requirement, but that's typically the way it is. Or in biotechnology. Good question. Yeah, one of our tour guides this year is applying to med school. So we have his fingers. I think he's already taken the MCAT. Now he's just starting the application process.
How do you apply for scholarships?
So for merit scholarships, that just takes place at the time of your application. So the application is open now. You can apply with Common App, or you can, if you're just applying to a few schools, apply to the Worcester State application. The Worcester State application is probably going to be a little quicker, but if you're already doing Common App, then you can just submit the Worcester State questions for Common App. At the time of your admission, you're going to start being considered for scholarships. It doesn't happen instantly. A lot of schools, you'll find that they give everyone qualifies for a scholarship of some sort, but we keep our costs low enough so that we don't award scholarships to everybody. We really focus in and award, I think about 300 incoming students end up getting merit scholarships. But you would just be considered at the time of admission. So when you apply, that's all we need to start considering you for scholarships. If you don't hear anything about scholarships at the time of your admission, I would say give it a couple of weeks and then reach out to us and see if we've made scholarship decisions. You asked a good question, though, about scholarships and got me onto applying. Our application is open now. We are test optional, which means you do not have to take the SAT, ACT. All of our majors are test optional. We've been test optional since 2018. Nursing and occupational studies did require SAT or ACT scores a couple of years ago, but since we still find it challenging for some students to take those tests, they are fully test optional, which means you can submit it, and if you did well on that test, I would encourage you to submit it, but it's not required at all and does not change your admission decision unless you did not meet our admissions requirements to begin with. So if you didn't do as well on your academic record, we're typically looking for a 3.0 GPA, but our average accepted GPA is anywhere between a 2.5 and a 4.0. So it was a pretty broad range there. If you say weren't at that 3.0, but we're close, you might want to consider submitting those SAT, ACT scores, but it's not required at all.
And that merit scholarship, would they lose it if they decide to go to another college?
The merit scholarship, yeah, it's just an institutional aid, so it would just be for a student going to Worcester State.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know it's student here, so it's probably not there. I was wondering, like, your sports medicine and like athletic training, is that around?
No. We don't really have any other focus areas in that range, other than, say, your typical more broad STEM classes, bio and things like that. Occupational studies is pretty popular, but that's not going to be as specific as sports medicine, and most students in our occupational studies are really wanting to go into our 4-1 occupational therapy program. A large percentage of students will continue on, get their master's in occupational therapy. The undergrad is a feeder program into the master's. And we have a number of 4+1 programs. So if you want to continue on for a graduate degree, you can start earning some of those graduate credits while you're in undergrad. Since we have 30 master's programs. 32, I think. Any other questions? I know I've just given you a ton of information.
What kind of dorms do you guys have?
So we have-
Besides, because I was on you guys' website, and I saw that you guys had different, like, residence halls.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know if it was just, like, the suite and like, the suite and then, like, the shared one, or how...
We have
Or if there was more options.
We have 4 residence halls. So we've got a traditional dorm style, and that's primarily freshmen. Then we have the suite style, but we also have Wesleyan and Chandler Village, which are apartment style and townhouse style. So if, say, you have a group of friends, 9, 12 friends that you want to live with, or that you want to be on the same hall with or something, Chandler Village, our townhouse, they house anywhere from groups of 3 to 4 up to 9 to 13 students. So there's a lot of variety on campus, and Chandler Village is the one where a lot of upperclassmen will live, a lot of athletes will live, because if you're all living on campus, can house larger groups of students in one place, and it feels more off campus. You'll see we're an open campus, which means that you don't have to like stop at a security gate or do anything like that. But when you get up into upper campus, which is where our residence halls are, they're sort of in the back end, so you're sort of farther away from the true campus feel. So we have 4 different residence halls. Over 1,600 students live on campus, which is just under half of our student population. So a lot of students will live on campus for a year or 2 and then move off, or we just have a 60% commuter population as well. So, but that commuter students include students who, say, live just off campus in an apartment or house in the area versus living at home with family. Yeah, so there's lots and lots of options. And if you go online, I'm glad you mentioned that. You can, if you go online, you can see they did a MTV Cribs style tour, of campus. That was totally student run, but we thought it was the best way to show what the residence halls were really like. One other hot tip for applying is if you visit campus. We have campus tours twice a day, weekly, so Monday through Friday, 1 and 3 p.m. We also have Saturday tours and Saturday open houses. You qualify for a fee waiver, so we'd give you a $50 application fee waiver to apply for free. So if you're in the area, stop by, and you can see campus and apply for free.
What is the meal plan like at the school?
So if you live on campus, you're required to have a meal plan, and it can fluctuate from just a few, I think 50 meals. We also have, so you can pay per meal, or you can pay for what we think of, okay, so this would give you, it's like 21, no, that's not right, 18 meals per week, because on the weekends a lot of students say we'll skip breakfast or go out to eat for dinner, things like that. And that's for the whole semester, so you would pay into that and then go to the dining hall, which has more than 12 different stations, lots of variety, and overlooks the football field. It's gorgeous if you're on campus. That's just one of my favorite spots on campus. But we also have dining dollars, so that you could, if say you're not living on campus, or even if you are living on campus but you don't want to eat in the dining hall as often, we have a coffee shop on campus, a smoothie bar on campus, a grill on campus. It's more like late night eating, and that you pay sort of a dollar for dollar amount. So you just put money, it's sort of like you've got a on campus debit card, basically. So there's 2 different ways that you can eat on campus. Most residents have some combination of a meal plan as well as dining dollars. A lot of commuters will do dining dollars instead, because you can use dining dollars at the at the dining hall, it's sort of like you pay once to enter and it's all you can eat.
So the dining hall is like open the whole day?
Yeah. I mean, it closes, I think, at 8 or 9 in the evening. But yeah, it's open. You can go in. There's some things that are just grab and go. Some stations are only open for so many hours in the middle of the day. So if you wanted to get that, get a made-to-order hamburger, then that's only going to be open probably from like 11 to 2 or something like that. But you can go in and get food, the grab-and-go food, like sandwiches and salads and things like that.
If you live in campus, is there a certain curfew you guys have
Nope.
that the students need to be in?
Nope, no curfew. You would have to check in guests in your residence hall everywhere except for probably Chandler Village, but we'd still want to know that they're on campus. But other than that, no, there's no curfew. We assume you're adults and can make the good and bad decisions that you want to make.
So back to the loans and stuff like that, for the suite and the normal traditional ones, you have to pay more?
The cost is slightly different because it's primarily upperclassmen, but I want to say it's like less than $1,000 of difference for the entire year. So I know that sounds $1,000 sounds like a lot, but I think it's more like $300 to $500 for the year, slightly different. Now, if you were like a freshman coming in and you wanted to request to live by yourself, that would just be if we have the space for that, or if you want to pay for that. So that's a slightly different option.
Could we use, say financial aid doesn't cover for everything, especially if we make requests like living in a suite by ourselves, would we be able to take out student loans to cover those costs? Because as college students, obviously, we probably wouldn't have that extra money.
Sure. That would be a really good question for financial aid. In general, yes. You just probably wouldn't, it depends on what you qualify for as far as loans are concerned. So that's more of a what you would qualify for, because this is something you need to talk to with financial aid, but I've dealt with this a lot just in general. There's federal loans that are federally backed with lower interest rates typically. There are private loans with lower interest but are predatory lending. There's just so much to do with that, and I think you over here had the right idea. You want to get as few loans as you possibly can, so investigating your options, that would be my number one goal. Although you'll see in this packet we have some statistics here that we've been ranked nationally for best return on investment, as well as where is it? I was just looking at this. Best college for your money, and best place to attend a local college. So in general, you can opt to do loans, but I would recommend working with a counselor to find out what makes the most sense for you. A financial aid counselor, not an admissions counselor. I can personally give you some recommendations, but probably not fully qualified. Did y'all have any questions? Well, thank you so much for coming and asking such great questions. If you're on campus, please reach out to me, or if you have any follow-up questions. I've got my card here.